The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Studio 6 Entertainment, Armed Media, or the Entertainment Partners LLC. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, it's Jimmy with the weekly lineup. On Monday at 7 p.m. Central, we start out with the Lynn O Show, and after the Lynn O Show is Straight Talk with Matt Hasley. He's on at 9 p.m. Central. On Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central, we have Talk Time with Val, and after Val is the High Five at 10 show with Johnny J and Mikey. They're on at 9 p.m. Central. On Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central, we will have Suspense. We will have a new show coming soon called Bite Me with Jennifer Savino. She'll be evaluating the restaurants in the New York area. She'll be on at 8 p.m. Central. On Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Central, we have Talk Time with Val again. And after Val is Night Talk with Joe Rocks. He's on at 9 p.m. Central. And we wrap it up on Friday with Straight Talk with Matt Hasley at 9 p.m. Central. That's the weekly lineup. I hope you enjoy them. Thank you very much.
And yes, it's time for some Straight Talk. This is your host, Matt Hasley, and we're coming to you live on Armed Radio Global. I'd like to, if you want to interact with the show, you can call us at 1-866-225-5401, or you can reach us on Facebook or Twitter at Armed Radio 1, or if you want to do it, just hashtag a tweet, Armed Radio, will pop up on the tweet deck and we'll see it. But before we get started, I want to mention my sponsors here. We got Zunity.tv. It's a TV made simple. You can handle all your social media, everything. You can keep up to date with all your sports, Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, Skype, Twitter, probably the World Cup if you wanted to do that. And also Eat24.com, another one of our favorites. 25,000 Reasons Not to Cook. Download it from your favorite mobile store. Click, order, and eat. And also iCarryalls.com. Create custom personalized leather accessories for your iPad, handbags, luggage, everything. You've arrived, has your bag? Well, get that look of the professional. And one last one, CanLConsulting.com. CanL provides a wide variety of services for your business needs. Personal, employee management, custom, commercial funding, 24-hour customer service, premium business services without a contract with a name you can trust. Well, tonight it is a special night. We got Alejandro Rojas with Open Minds. He's on in the studio here, so hopefully you can hear him. Alejandro, welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, I would like to do is, if you don't understand what Open Minds is, we're going to be talking all about UFOs tonight, so it's going to be a good show. I got a lot of questions for him, but starting off, I'd like to do is have Alejandro tell everybody a little bit about himself and what he does with OpenMinds.tv.
All right, yeah, I am the director of operations, so I kind of help run the day-to-day, and I also do a lot of the writing and posting and organizing. And what we are is we're a UFO media news organization. So we have a popular website and social networking sites where we post UFO news every day. We also have a YouTube channel where we have a UFO news series called Spacing Out. I have a podcast that I host every week. And we also host the largest UFO conference in the world that is in the Phoenix, Arizona area called the International UFO Congress, and that is in mid-February. So that's what keeps us busy all day long. So we do this full time.
Wow. I see on your website that you have early registration for that already coming up for the 2015 UFO Congress.
Yep, early registration just opened. We haven't posted the speakers yet, but it's this is a 24th annual, so it's been going on for a long time. And people want to register as soon as the last one's over usually. So we post the early registration even before we have the speakers listed. And we always get, a lot of registrations before they even know who's going to be there. But luckily, we have a reputation of doing a good job picking speakers that are not just the old favorites or the ones that are everywhere, but also up-and-comers, people who are doing some exciting work around the field that others might not know about. So we like to introduce new work, and we also like to keep, because we're on this day-to-day, keep up to speed with what's the latest, what's new and interesting out there, and that's what we like to highlight.
What got you started in this field?
I got started in this field, I've always had an interest, and it's kind of been this battle between, my left and right brain, and I think a lot of people feel like that. We're open to different ideas, having an open mind, but also being more kind of science-minded, real skeptical about some things. But I also have always been a news hound and into journalism, and really what compelled me to get into all of this was in 2001. I was really into this, watching all of the shows. But in 2001, there was a press conference by a medical doctor, and he brought together over a dozen really highly credible witnesses, some of them in the military, some of them in the private sector. For instance, one of them was an official with the FAA, and they came and talked about their experiences. And it was really eye-opening, and the most eye-opening part was this wasn't really covered very heavily by the media, and I thought, wow, there's a lot of information that is not making it out to the mainstream. So I kind of became a hermit for a period of time, looking into reading books like crazy and getting all the history, and then I decided to become an investigator for the Mutual UFO Network. They're a large organization that has investigators all over the country, really all over the world. And luckily that their headquarters was local to where I was, so I got to know the national group and began volunteering for the local group and the national group, and eventually became the spokesperson for them. So I helped organize conferences on their behalf and otherwise, and then when my boss decided he wanted to start up this media organization, he asked me to come join him and do this full time, so I did it.
All right, the one you're talking about is MUFON? Is that what they call it?
Correct. That is MUFON.
You hear that a lot of times, and if people don't know what the term for MUFON is, but if you watch any, they still show, it's not current, but UFO Hunters was a big one that I used to watch all the time. I see a lot of information about it. But there's still some newer stuff that comes out. I try to keep up to date and see when you're looking at your guide and make sure, okay, well, that thing's 2007. I don't want to watch that. I want to see something that's recent. You want to, the thing that got me probably, I was telling my son, he looked at me tonight, he's 15. He looked at me and I said, well, I saw a UFO when I was a kid. And he was like, what? He's like I'd never told him before, and it's something that I never really brought up. I mean, I saw it sit, my parents' house, growing up, and I told Bill Burns about it, and it was it was just one of those things where it was so fast, and it was over, and you were just like, did I really see what I thought I did? And a lot of people are that way. They're afraid to come out because they don't want to get the hassle of it.
Right. In fact, most people who are really into this field had their own sighting, and that's what compelled them. I mean, there's a great documentary called I Know What I Saw, and it's got a great title because that's what a lot of people, such as yourself, will say. I had a sighting of something unusual, and I know what I saw, and it wasn't something mundane, even though many times skeptics or others will try to explain away what they saw. They feel like, no, you weren't there, and what you're explaining is not what I saw. So, and there are a lot of, not just people who are uneducated. There are a lot of scientists and otherwise that have had sightings that it makes them feel this way as well. In fact, really this field And even MUFON was started by astronomers and scientists who mostly had their own sightings and wanted to figure out what the heck it was.
Yeah, you see people when being a ex-police officer, and police officers designed to do is observe and watch everything, and when they come out with something, I've known some police officers that were should have been locked away, but mentally, because you wonder how they ever got past the mental part of it. But most of them, they come out, and you see when they come out and say, "Hey, I saw this," or if a pilot comes out and says, "Hey, I saw this," they're going to take a credibility hit, because a lot of people are going to look at them like, "Oh, you're nuts." Well, pilots, especially when they come out and they start talking about things that they've seen in the air. But our government has, for the longest time, not wanted to even mention anything. You said you made a recent trip to Roswell, and Area 50. Was it Area 51 or Roswell? I'm not sure.
I recently did go to Area 51 with the Kardashians, actually, but I am going to Roswell to do a couple talks. They have a big festival during the anniversary of the alleged UFO crash out there, so I'm going to be out there doing a couple of talks this weekend.
Well, that will be neat.
Mm-hmm.
What was your take on Area 51? Because everybody is, it's ultra secret. Everybody, but you see people that try to get the visual where they try to go up onto the one hills and look down into it, and the government totally denies it. So once they deny it, that's where the conspiracy comes out. Oh, and they do this, they've done that. But what was your take on Area 51?
Yeah, no, good point. And that's what's really funny about Area 51. It's not, at least for the longest time, it was not only the most secret Air Force base, it was also the most popular Air Force base, which is really strange. How could it be both at the same time? And this was the case when I went with the Kardashians a few months ago, and Chloe kept asking, how can this be secret? When it's right here and we're here looking at it? And the answer is that that the government just did not acknowledge its existence. However, recently, and it was just prior to when the show aired, but after we went out there, the CIA finally did acknowledge it in a kind of subtle way. Prior to just recently, there were every document that referenced Area 51. The name Area 51 was redacted, so it was blacked out. And there was a big document that had come out that talked about the background of SR-71 and the U-2, which are planes that were developed at Area 51. And the whole section on Area 51 was all blacked out. Well, the CIA finally re-released that document just last year, and they didn't redact that information, so now you could read it all and see Area 51. Information, mostly everybody already knew because some engineers and things had talked about it. So it's just funny that way. If you're going to deny it even exists, then a lot of people are going to come up with a lot of conspiracies because we know it exists. I mean, we had you can see it. And it was in the 80s that really it started to become really popular. The local KLAS television, and in particular a gentleman named George Knapp and others there, had done a lot of research and talked to some engineers about Area 51, so they knew it was there, they knew the name. But it wasn't until the late 80s when a gentleman named Bob Lazar
I was just going to mention him, yep.
Yeah. And he says he worked there, and that he worked on back engineering UFOs and alien spacecraft, what he believed to be alien spacecraft. He didn't see any aliens, but he said they were small, and he thought that's what they were. He says that essentially he told some friends to go out to the desert in a certain place, and you can see them being tested. And he essentially got in trouble for that and kicked out. There are no records that he worked there, nor are there records of his alleged degrees, his education. He says that the government, hid all that information, which is possible when it comes to his work background. What a lot of people are skeptical about is how can you hide your degrees? The schools he went to, the night he went there, there's nobody there. He can't point to any other people he went to school with or professors, and it's not like I'm, some superstar people would, but even me, I don't know, most people, if you go to a school, you've got other students you went to school with who remember you and know you, and professors that remember and know you, so you'd be able to verify it in some of these ways, or even to show a degree, and he hasn't been able to do that. So a lot of people think that maybe the degree part isn't true, but and that's what makes it really difficult to know how much of the truth he had told. So that's when Area 51 became huge, because this story got all over the media. George Knapp did several interviews with him, and it's still a real popular story. And of course, people are talking about Area 51 like crazy. What's interesting is because the U.S. Air Force denied its existence, a lot of people still thought it didn't exist. And recently, when the CIA finally didn't redact the name Area 51 and we confirmed it existed, then even a lot of media people started calling us, started calling other people in this field, saying, hey, you guys were right about this. And essentially the story was that Area 51 exists, but we don't know if there's any UFOs there. But at least it showed that Area 51 did exist. People who are in this field, just because they say something exists, you need to look at the evidence, and there certainly was a lot of evidence that Area 51 existed. Whether it houses UFOs or extraterrestrial vehicles, that still cannot be proven, and is still unknown.
Yeah, there was a documentary that came out with he was an older gentleman. I think he's since passed away. That he talked about different things that he had worked on, or whatever, the technology that we supposedly have gotten from aliens or whatever, and like Velcro and different things, But they were talking about Area 51. Area 51 was originally just, all it means is a section of the land where they wanted to do testing, and they wanted it remote. And I mean, it even has an eerie name of Groom Lake, which is a kind of an eerie name to go with it. And a lot of people, they denied all that, and they had planes flying in and out and everything constantly. And I mean, how you can deny that?
Well, what's funny is there were some documents that were released that didn't redact Area 51, and most likely accidentally. So, for instance, there was a document from the reconnaissance, I forget the organization, and they were talking about how they wanted to fly a U-2 over Area 51 and take pictures, and this was about the time that the Sputnik went up, because they wanted to know if there are Russian satellites, what would they see if they went over Area 51. That was a document where they forgot to take it out. The Energy Commission didn't take it out in a document that talked about how actually it was their land to begin with, and then the Air Force said, we want to use Area 51. They're the ones who designated these plots of land, the different numbers, just like you said. And so they had a document where Area 51 was going to be taken over, where Groom Lake is, by the Air Force to make a base. And so there are a few others. In fact, there's a document in the Blue Book files. So the U.S. Air Force used to investigate UFOs from the late 50s until the late 60s, and there were multiple programs, but the last one was called Project Blue Book. And in one of their UFO files, there was a guy in Las Vegas who had a sighting, and in the investigation, they listed all of the Air Force bases nearby, which they should contact just in case they had something in the area which could account for what this person had seen. And one of the bases they listed was Area 51. So even in a UFO investigation, they forgot to redact Area 51 in this document. So there were a handful of documents out there that referred to Area 51. Not many where they forgot to redact it. But even still, people were skeptical it existed just because the Air Force said it did not.
Oh yeah, once you get them denying something, the first thing they try to do is they want to prove it. So
Right.
and it's quite obvious they're looking right at it. You know, there's a lot of people, and I mean, guys are coming back. Hey, we went over the hill. There's something there.
Right.
And you know, I mean, they were trying a lot of it. They didn't want it to get out. I think they also worked on the stealth at that place at Area 51 and.
Exactly. They worked on stealth, and they're still working on things at Area 51. We have a lot of stories on Area 51 at openminds.tv, so your guests can go there and check it out. One of the stories we posted this week, actually, I think lends some insight into at least the origins of Area 51 and whether there are UFOs there. And that is a story that was a Project Blue Book file, and I just kind of did some research to write it out because I don't know if it's been thoroughly told online before. It has been told here and there, and I tried to do it a little more thorough and links to the documents. But Kelly Johnson was the guy who was the first one to run Lockheed Skunk Works. And Skunk Works is the organization that does all of the top secret aircraft for Lockheed, and they're the ones that are at Area 51. They work out of Area 51. So Kelly Johnson was the guy who was tasked with going out and scouting the place for Area 51 and then constructing it. So he put this place up. Well, he actually also was an advocate for UFO research, and he believed in the phenomena. And what I posted was some letters he wrote to the Project Blue Book about sightings he had. And one in particular, and this was in December in 1953. And in this sighting, he was at his ranch. And he had just gone to his ranch and he in California, and he was looking out over the ocean and he saw something strange. He thought it was a cloud at first, and he kept looking at it, and it moved off to the west very quickly, and he was convinced that was some sort of vehicle, some sort of large vehicle. The next morning, he goes to work. He had been out of town for a week, and some of his pilots and engineers come in to catch him up on what was going on for the week. And at the end, one of them says, and in his report, he said he kind of did it shyly because he didn't want to, he was afraid to get made fun of, but he said, you know what, last night I was chasing a UFO. And Kelly immediately got excited and said, well, did it look like this? Was it here? And this is what I saw. And the guy said, holy cow, that's exactly what we saw. He was on an aircraft called a Navy Constellation with a bunch of other test engineers from Lockheed. And when they saw the same thing, they saw off in a distance what they said looked like a chevron shape sitting there for a long time. They also thought it was a cloud at first. They flew towards it, and then it flew off to the west. All of these pilots wrote reports. What's interesting about a couple of these pilots, who were also engineers, wrote that they had also had UFO sightings in the past. So Kelly Johnson, two of the other witnesses, all three talked about the UFO sightings they had seen in the past, and how those UFO sightings had made them interested in the UFO phenomena. So Kelly Johnson even wrote that, you know, he over the years he's been made fun of for his UFO sighting, but once he had this sighting, he was able to, you know, a lot of his colleagues were convinced that UFOs were real. So they wrote that into the Air Force, and the Air Force unfortunately said, you know, that they determined that what all these people had seen was a cloud. But these are pilots, they're engineers. They made points that, you know, that they are all being engineers, that they have been trained on identifying aircraft and what is a cloud and what is an aircraft. And for, like, in this case, what it makes me think is, who's the real authority here? The Air Force or these engineers, these guys who are working on top secret technology that are cutting edge technology that humans, you know, create? I kind of feel like they're more of an authority than whoever these Air Force investigators were.
A lot of times, Air Force investigators were, from what I gather, they were designed to dumb it down or downplay it, because they didn't want people, either Russia or whoever were going to, Cold War, thinking that we had some technology way beyond them.
Yeah, that's what's hard. There are a lot of theories. Some people say that they like the UFO phenomenon because they used to scare the Russians, making the Russians think it was ours and that we did have something they didn't know about. Some feel just the opposite, that they didn't want the Russians to know because we had recovered something at Roswell and we're building these incredible things that we don't want them to know about. So it's people are on both sides of the fence on that one. But some of the insight into the Air Force's handling of these cases, there was a book written by Edward J. Ruppelt, who ran Project Blue Book. He was the first guy to run the Project Blue Book, which was, like I had mentioned, the third actual project on investigating UFOs. And he wrote a book called Estimate of the Situation that was really interesting and that went into the history, and it showed how the Air Force kind of ping-ponged back and forth. The Air Force started researching UFOs in 1958, and the first project was called Project Sign. They investigated it. A lot of people were pro-UFO, and in their estimate of the situation, which they called it at the end of Project Sign, they said that they believed not only the phenomena was real, that one of the possible answers is that these are extraterrestrial spacecraft. Well, supposedly General Vandenberg at the time read the document. He said, guys, you got to take this part out because you don't have evidence to show that these are extraterrestrial. So the document was changed. At that point, they created a Project Grudge because by then they were really frustrated with a lot of people criticizing them for UFO sightings. So Project Grudge, according to Ruppelt, was aptly named because then they had a grudge against the phenomena, and at that point they were just debunking everything. They didn't investigate. They just said, no, this isn't a UFO. But then that kind of backfired on them too because people got really upset because you had people like Kelly Johnson, or you had World War II aces. You had these incredibly technical people. You had astronomers saying, I've seen something, I don't know what it is. And the public is saying, hey, Air Force, you can't just say you can't just debunk this when these people with more credibility than you have are saying otherwise. So it turned into a bad press thing. So then they opened up Blue Book, where they tried to, with very limited resources and with just a few people, they tried to investigate cases and tried to at least appear that they were putting a good faith effort towards solving these cases. But really, you can tell from Ruppelt's book, they were just completely overwhelmed and they couldn't really do any investigation. In fact, their astronomer, J. Allen Hynek, who they had recruited to help them look into these cases, he was skeptical at the beginning. He said UFOs were just a bunch of hooey. But then looking at the cases, he felt, wow, this is a real phenomenon. He became a luminary in UFO research and kept investigating them even after the UFOs stopped doing it. In fact, he's in the movie Close Encounters because he helped as a consultant for that. But he even says that really the Air Force at times didn't want to do investigations, and even if they did, they were really overwhelmed and couldn't do much about it. So it was just a kind of a PR nightmare for them.
Well, let's do is we're going to take a quick break here. We're running a little over. My producer hit me up with commercial breaks there and a few minutes ago, but you had a good point going. I didn't want to stop you. But we're going to take a quick break, and once again, this is Matt Hasley with Straight Talk, and you're listening to UFO Phenomenon with Alejandro Rojas from OpenMinds.tv.
Do you want a better future for your family and yourself? Now you can advance your current career or begin a new career and command a bigger paycheck by earning a fully accredited online degree. Study when and where you want. Tens of thousands of adults are doing it now. You can too. Best of all, financial aid is available for all those who qualify. For free, no obligation information on online degree programs, visit collegescholarships.com or speak with an educational advisor at 844-353-1800. Why wait? Visit collegescholarships.com or call 844-353-1800 right now. The information is free and it can change your life.
Hi! Now I know you hear Joe Rocks and the Dog on their weekly restaurant reviews on Night Talk 10 p.m. Eastern. And boy, these two like to eat. Right, boys? Well, here's something to review right from your house. Eat24. That's right, Eat24.com. With over 25,000 restaurants for you to choose from when you're hungry. Many in your area. So review that, boys. Eat24.com. Click, order, and eat. Eat24.com.
Hi, it's Lynn from The Lino Show. I'm excited to tell you about a new and easy way to protect your smartphone and tablets. It's called Go Ring. We all know someone who has dropped a phone or a tablet, myself included. And between the repair costs and insurance, it can be very expensive. Go Ring works with any phone or tablet. It's super strong and can hold over 5 pounds. It makes everything easier, taking photos, playing games, or just browsing without the worry of dropping your device. So protect yourself and your family's mobile devices with Go Ring. Find them at www.goring.com.
Ready to boost your professional image and show your dedication to your career? iCarryalls.com is your source for customized business cases for iPad, iPad mini, MacBook, and Galaxy tablets. We stock a huge number of genuine leather pad folios, pouch cases, business tote bags, and more. If you don't see a style you like, no problem. The iCarryalls design team can help you design the perfect case for your needs. Express international shipping is available. Get organized today with a leather case that works as hard as you do. Visit iCarryalls.com. That's iCarryalls.com.
Spring is in the air, and you deserve to have a spring in your step. And where better to find that little bit of heaven for your well-deserving tootsies than Savvy Souls, where chic meets comfort at the intersection of satisfaction, swank, and trendy. With 50 to 70% off, it's as heaven sent for your wallet as it is for your feet. So check them out today at www.forsavvysouls.com or find them on Facebook at For Savvy Souls today.
Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle that's on the verge of coming out in the book The Hypocrite by Mara K. Eaton, available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook today.
Hi, I want to tell you about the new Zunity Eclipse. iStream is a smart media aggregator that stores your media tastes to better focus your searches. Add to favorites or subscribe to your show of choice and never miss an episode again. Create your own little digital online library without downloading a thing. It supplies content by scanning and collating your channels directly from the World Wide Web. Supporting many formats and exceptionally versatile, whether playing the latest Android games and emulators, streaming 1080p HD movies, or video playback from your own media collection, the Eclipse is a powerful, stylish addition to any household. Miracast and AirPlay, which enable you to share media content, such as music, videos, photos between your smartphone, tablet, or laptop, and your TV, will also run on this little Zunit. Zunity, TV made simple. Play games, share photos, chat with friends, use our social media, stream, enjoy live television from around the globe. To order, contact us at Zunity.tv or call 718-414-3128 and check us out on Facebook. Zunity Talk for more information. TV made simple.
Open your windows, turn up the radio. It's the Lino Show. I'm a city girl from Boston, living the life in the burbs. Join me on Monday night on Live 365 at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Armed Radio Global. Join us for a mixed bag of entertainment, comedy, fashion, and fun. It's off the chain.
And once again, we're back for Straight Talk with Matt Hasley, and we're talking with Alejandro Rojas from OpenMinds.tv. So welcome back, Alejandro.
Hello, thank you again.
And we were talking about all kinds of crazy things and, different topics to talk about and everything, and we're getting into it, and we're like, whoa, wait a minute, we're on break, hold on. I'm trying to hold him down. He wants to go, but a lot of topic or terminology a lot of people have, and a new one is coming out that it's getting more and more common to hear. It's not just UFOs, but it's USOs. And I mean, do you copy or touch on those on your site?
Yeah, definitely, because people have a great interest in them, and of course it's an interesting topic. That's underwater submerged objects, or there's a few different variations, but essentially, yeah, it's underwater unidentified submerged objects, but it's UFOs under the water, and there have been people who have reported that sort of thing. One of the most popular ones is in Shag Harbor, and that was investigated by the American government and the Canadian government, and it's a really interesting one from 1967, where some people had said that they saw a craft go underwater at Shag Harbor, which is in Nova Scotia, and cruise underwater for a period of time and then stop, and it was underwater for a while. And you can find some information on even the Canadian government. They have some documents online that you can find. But yeah, that's an interesting case. But certainly, yeah, there's a great interest in it, and a lot of people say, that water is where there are a lot of UFO sightings. Of course, it's hard for us to see them if they're underwater, but some people theorize that UFO sightings are largely near bodies of water. It's difficult to correlate that because, we don't have a system where we can record every sighting. There's two major sighting organizations. There's a Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, which is the largest. There's another one called NUFORC, the National UFO Reporting Center, and that's out of the Washington area, and that's ran by one man, but one man who lives in a missile bunker, but Peter Davenport, but he does a great job all by himself, and he gets a lot of sightings there too. So in fact, and it's kind of sad, the FAA, and I've done this, I've called the FAA as an investigator to see if they had sightings. If you call the FAA and say you saw something in the air, you would think that they would be concerned, right? That they would that something like that may pose a danger to commercial aircraft, but they will send you to NUFORC or to Bob Bigelow, who has the Bigelow Aerospace, because they've also, talked to the FAA and asked if they could receive those sighting reports. So they'll send you to UFO researchers. They will not take those reports themselves, whereas you think this would be important information. So you can kind of use the data that you get from MUFON and NUFORC, and I look at that data and try to plug it into things to try to figure things out. But Puerto Rico is an area where there's a lot of UFO sightings, and people feel there's even a UFO base out there.
Yeah, I heard about the one in Puerto Rico. Also, the one near it's our base that's where they house the the prisoners. They're talking about the underwater in Guantanamo Bay, down in Cuba. Right along the water, they said that some of the soldiers have said they've seen things, and but they don't have the permission from the government to go down there and investigate. They won't give them permission. But it's it makes a lot of sense. It'd be a lot easier to hide them underwater than it would be to hide them out in the open land, of course. But
yeah.
We were just getting onto the topic of recent sightings, and one of the recent sightings was in O'Hare Airport in Chicago. And you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, I guess it's one of the more recent, really important sightings. It was a while ago now, about 8 years ago, but it's an incredibly interesting case, and I think one of the most important in a long time. It took place in November of 2006, early November. And what happened is over gate C-17, they closed it down for a period of time because people said, and this was about 4 p.m., people said they saw a UFO. Pilots, the United Airlines workers, it was a United Gate, said they saw something. And really, it didn't make much news until New Year's Day in 2007 when a guy named John Hilkovich, who is a transportation journalist for the Chicago Tribune, wrote a story. He essentially heard from some of these witnesses that they were really frustrated, that they had seen something incredible, but that United and the FAA was essentially ignoring them and telling them not to talk about it. What they had seen was a silver disc that floated over the gate for a period of time before shooting straight up. When it shot straight up, it went through some clouds. That's how they could tell that this thing, was not like a star or something, because it was below the clouds. But it shot up through the clouds, leaving a hole in the clouds. And some people have done some, math around this and some science around it, that the thing had to be very hot to be able to dissolve the clouds and to leave a hole there. The hole was there for a period of time before it closed up by itself. But there were a lot of witnesses to this, and what's really interesting is that John Hilkovich took this on. He went and he talked to United. They wouldn't talk to him about it. He went and talked to the FAA. The FAA said, we didn't have any reports on that. And he knew that that wasn't the case. He had spoken to these United workers. So he put in a FOIA request. The FOIA request came back, and the FAA said, oh, yeah, sorry, we forgot. We did have some people report that, but we just thought it was some odd weather phenomena. So what's kind of neat about that is that he ran into the same kind of experience that UFO researchers run into, where they are, told that nothing happened, even though there were things that had happened. The other thing is he put in a FOIA request, and a lot of us do this. This is a Freedom of Information Act request, and most of the time it takes months for that information to come back, sometimes years. But because he was with the Chicago Tribune, they got back with him much faster, and he was able to, within a couple of days, get a response, and they had to respond that, oops, sorry, we did have some people report something. So, but of course, the witnesses were not satisfied with this answer that it was weather phenomena, because they saw a physical object, a silver, disc, which is most commonly reported, why UFOs are called flying saucers, shoot up through the cloud. So that's a really interesting case. The hard part is a lot of those witnesses have not come forward, and supposedly they took pictures with their cell phones, but no one's come forward with those pictures. So there's a gentleman I was talking to you about named Sam Moranto, who runs a Chicago area MUFON, and he's been investigating this case for years, and I have a conference in October out there where he's going to talk about this, and He's actually asked me to come speak at his conference also. But yeah, Sam Moranto might be a guy you want to have on. Really neat guy, great investigator who's been staying up to speed on this case. And he says he actually is getting closer to, he has talked with some witnesses, and he's getting closer to hopefully getting to look at some of these pictures or something.
Yeah, that's one of the things that surprises me with the, with when you just go throughout your daily routine, how often you're on camera. And especially when you go to an airport, how often you're on camera. And that the cameras that are at the airport, if somebody's taking pictures of the gates, they have cameras on those gates. So you know somebody got pictures of that.
Yeah.
And why that never came forward. But, yeah, a lot of companies that do them, they go over their drives, But with an airport, you're gonna have to store drives for a while because, especially if something happens, you gotta have access in and out. They have cameras on everything.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I work at a golf course as a golf pro, and there's cameras everywhere at the golf course. We had a major vandalism, and from then on, we've had cameras. So, but with the amount of cameras we have now, why we aren't getting better footage, or people just aren't bringing them forward that see it?
Well, I have a couple theories on this, and one of them is as good as our cameras are, it is really difficult. So, for instance, let's take a night sighting with lights. Go outside and try to take a picture of an airplane flying over you at night. It's going to be really difficult, and if you do get a picture, you're just going to have a couple of lights. It's not, even if you try to get a video, you're just going to have a couple of blinking lights. You're not going to be able to see the shape of the object or tell much of what it is. And let's say that thing had a weird shape. Well, unfortunately, you may have a picture of some blinking lights or video of some blinking lights, but you're not going to have anything that shows or proves, that it was something odd. You're just going to have your anecdotal information along with the pictures. But even during the day, go outside and try to get a picture of something really high up in the sky. And it's going to be pretty difficult. With a lot of these people, they see something very high, and it's kind of a dot, and it's flying in a weird, strange way. So it's really hard to get some good video of something weird. So it's very far and few between. The other thing is what if they don't want you to get a picture? There's been some biology or astrophysicists and such. We had an astrophysicist at our conference this last year, and he's skeptical. He doesn't know if ET's visiting us, but he says it's possible. And he says, what? The reason he thinks it's possible and why we don't have pictures is because if they are out there, with all of the large amount of time difference there may be, they could be hundreds or thousands of years ahead of us. Look at our technology just 100 years ago. It was not very impressive. So if they're 1,000 years ahead of us and they're coming here and they have the technology to come here, if they don't want to be seen, if they don't want us to get pictures of them, we're not going to get pictures of them. And I really feel this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, you think when I was a kid, we had three TV channels.
Right.
And now what do we have?
Yeah.
You watch it on your wrist.
Yeah, exactly.
And they probably could cloak it, do anything they want. And we think of, stuff like when I was growing up, watching Star Trek and watching, Buck Rogers and all that. And you think about the stuff that they thought about is actually stuff that we're doing now.
Yeah.
And stuff that we think that is impossible.
Yeah.
They're probably doing.
Yeah, a lot of people will say, that's ridiculous. How could they hide themselves? We don't even understand anything that could do that. Well, of course we don't. We don't understand because we don't know that technology. Just like Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology is going to look like magic. We have no idea what they could have developed. So that's, I think certainly possible.
Well, it's like when you first showed fire to a caveman. They
Right.
they were like, "Whoa, what's that?"
Yeah.
And it's what you can, like our brains right now. If we saw some of the things, it'd probably just floor us.
Yeah.
And there's some things that are, I don't know if people are getting more. A lot of people are skeptical, but say, "Hey, yeah, I could understand it happening."
Yeah. Yeah, but there are still weird videos out there. So, for instance, one of them that we just wrote about, let's see, when did we write about this? Just like last week. This is a story we wrote on June.
What about the New Jersey witness, a blue UFO?
This is the one I like. This is June 24th. This was a circle UFO caught on video near Galveston, the Galveston seawall. And a guy says, a kid said he was at the Galveston seawall and he saw a silent, clear, flying circle that made no noise. When at first I saw the video, it looks like kind of a dark crescent. And I thought, well, that's just some birds flying in formation. But then when you enlarge the picture and you see it, you can see it during parts of the video that there's actually a full circle. It's a dark full circle. Birds don't fly in a full circle. It looks like a perfect circle. So what the heck could that be? I don't know. That's a really weird one. I think that's a great video. And they're far and few between. A lot of them, you can kind of say it's possibly this, possibly that. One of the hard things lately is with all these quadcopters. There's so many quadcopters out there right now with crazy lights on them and everything that it is hard to know, if something weird flying around is not just a quadcopter or a drone or something. And but the circle one I think is at least lately one of the really cool ones that has gotten posted.
You see a lot of people that will submit stuff that's fake purposely. I mean, because you get the technology nowadays. I mean, I don't know if you saw the video where it's like a little boy and he's showing him in the store with it's just unbelievable what he did with editing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hard part. A lot of what is posted by the general public is not hoaxed, even if it is something mundane. So, for instance, there was a girl who got some really good video. It's some of the best video of a lot of the media called it a dancing fireball, and this was in an England town in Northampton, and it's this kind of light dancing around the sky. Well, later it was determined that they figured out there was a festival there, and there were these people doing these parachuting stuff with lights on. Or no, this one was actually gliders with some flares on the wingtips, and it was really cool looking because there's some video close up. So a lot of them are something like that. However, there are YouTube sites out there that are hoaxing videos just to get a lot of hits. And it works. They put something really sensational out there. So for instance, there is a website, and these guys are filmmakers. They're kind of a thinly veiled hoax. They're not really, I don't think, malicious. They're just taking military videos in Iraq, and they're adding UFOs and onto the videos. Yeah, and they're kind of fun because you see, an airstrike, and it looks like they're airstriking a UFO because they've CG'd this in there, but it wasn't really a UFO. So there's some of those kind of things. But there are also other sites that are purposely putting these fake videos up and saying that they're real in order to get hits, because if you get, let's say, 1 million hits, you're going to make some decent money off of the ad share on YouTube. And I'll tell people, this is what you look for on these sites. When these sites say, we get submissions from the general public and we have exclusive rights to this video. If you want this video, you have to get in contact with us. And they don't list details on who got it, where, and they don't have any witness information. That's a huge red flag. Because, I know from working with MUFON for years, good videos are far and few between. And if you've got a website that's just posting good videos and it seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And really, it's not good investigation work to post a video and not list details about it, and some of the witness information. Whereas if you look at a MUFON case, if they're posting a UFO video, in fact, that one I was just talking about was one, they have witness testimony in there where and when it happened, and you have all the pertinent information so you can research this thing, and then it's a valid sighting. So it's the professionals out there that are hoaxing more so than the general public.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos you're talking about with the, where they CG the, and immediately the first thing I said, oh, this is crap.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if they would have fired on a UFO, we would have heard about it. It would have been big news, very huge news.
Especially if some YouTube website gets a hold of it,
And once they got a hold of it, it would have gone like wildfire on the news. But right now, I just got another poke. We're going to go for a commercial break here. Once again, this is Matt Hasley, your host of Straight Talk. And we're on Armed Radio Global with our guest Alejandro Rojas from OpenMinds.tv. We'll be back shortly.
In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me there ain't no use in trying.
Christian Pliva is Boston's premier wedding and personal photographer. Turning his passion into a life's work, he has dedicated himself to bringing his talents to capture the special memories of the beginning of your life's journey together. Christian uses the most updated equipment and software to handle any size wedding event, from full church and reception to a small intimate ceremony in the courthouse. Contact him today at www.christianplivaimages.com for booking information and available dates.
Hi, now I know you hear Joe Rocks and the Dog on their weekly restaurant reviews on Night Talk, 10 p.m. Eastern, and boy, these two like to eat, right boys? Well, here's something to review right from your house. Eat24. That's right, Eat24.com, with over 25,000 restaurants for you to choose from when you're hungry, many in your area. So review that, boys. Eat24.com. Click, order, and eat. Eat24.com.
Ready to boost your professional image and show your dedication to your career? iCarryalls.com is your source for customized business cases for iPad, iPad mini, MacBook, and Galaxy tablets. We stock a huge number of genuine leather pad folios, pouch cases, business tote bags, and more. If you don't see a style you like, no problem. The iCarryalls design team can help you design the perfect case for your needs. Express international shipping is available. Get organized today with a leather case that works as hard as you do. Visit iCarryalls.com. That's iCarryalls.com.
Say goodbye to payroll hassles with professional services from K&L Payroll Services. Now you can trust your payroll is in good hands. There's nothing better than personal attention from a trusted advisor who knows your business. Get more for your money with K&L Payroll Services. Call today at 888-979-6660 for honest savings on payroll services. That's K&L Payroll Services.
Spring is in the air, and you deserve to have a spring in your step. And where better to find that little bit of heaven for your well-deserving tootsies than Savvy Souls, where chic meets comfort at the intersection of satisfaction, swank, and trendy. With 50 to 70% off, it's as heaven sent for your wallet as it is for your feet. So check them out today at www.forsavvysouls.com or find them on Facebook at For Savvy Souls today.
Whew, nice shooting. Hey, that's a sweet AK-47 chest rig. Is that multicam?
Yep, got it from StrikeHardGear.com.
Strike what?
StrikeHardGear.com.
Set your sights on StrikeHardGear.com. Tough, tactical gear for your Soviet-style weapon that's made in the USA. Affordable, plus a no-questions-asked 30-day money-back guarantee and lifetime replacement warranty. StrikeHardGear.com. Go ahead. Pull the trigger.
Hi, I want to tell you about the new Zunity Eclipse. iStream is a smart media aggregator that stores your media tastes to better focus your searches. Add to favorites or subscribe to your show of choice and never miss an episode again. Create your own little digital online library without downloading a thing. It supplies content by scanning and collating your channels directly from the World Wide Web. Supporting many formats and exceptionally versatile, whether playing the latest Android games and emulators, streaming 1080p HD movies, or video playback from your own media collection, the Eclipse is a powerful, stylish addition to any household. Miracast and AirPlay, which enable you to share media content, such as music, videos, photos, between your smartphone, tablet, or laptop and your TV, will also run on this little Zunit. Zunity, TV made simple. Play games, share photos, chat with friends, use your social media, stream, enjoy live television from around the globe. To order, contact us at Zunity.tv or call 718-414-3128 and check us out on Facebook. Zunity Talk for more information. TV made simple.
Join me on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 Central for Talk Time with Val. Whether it's food, home life, social awareness, hot topic issues, sex, politics, or that sensual divide, you decide. Just tweet to tell me what's on your mind.
We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Somewhere, baby. Somehow.
And once again, this is Matt Hasley, your host for Straight Talk, and we're back. And we have Alejandro Rojas from Open Minds on. And before we get back to him, I just want to quickly run over our sponsors, thanking them for sponsoring the show. Zunity.tv. You can keep up to date with your sports, run Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, Skype, Twitter, and anything else you can find at the Google Play Store. Play games, share photos. TV made simple. Also, eat24.com. Have you ate? Well, have you? Well, then log on to eat24.com. Over 25,000 reasons not to cook. Download the app. Click, order, and eat. Also, iCarryalls.com. You have arrived. Has your bag? Oh, create your custom personalized leather accessories. All from top grain leather. So, iCarryalls.com. Also, KNLConsulting.com. Payroll services, employee management services, commercial funding, all with a 100% money back guarantee. It will match any competitor's offer. It is premium business services without a contract and a name you can trust. KNLConsulting.com. Well, Alejandro, we were talking a little bit about. Oh God, we had so many topics here. Let's. I told you right after we went to break that I wanted to take a turn, and we want to go to Roswell. So Roswell, New Mexico, probably the most famous UFO incident, which was you're going there shortly, from what I hear.
Yeah, headed to Roswell because it used to be the biggest UFO. It might still be the biggest UFO festival out there, but now that they've had such success for a while, there are more of them out there. So everybody's kind of trying to do a festival around a local big UFO sighting, it seems like. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, of course, because this is the big one and the big case. So what's interesting is Roswell happened, around June 2nd to June 5th. There's a lot of different versions of exactly what day what happened. But what we do know, what's interesting is the Roswell crash happens. And the Air Force quickly says, no, it wasn't what you think it is, essentially. It is something mundane. And soon after, everybody forgot about it. That was it. So it was July 8th that the first story went out that said, the Air Force caught a flying saucer. The next day, a story went out and said it was just a weather balloon, and that was it. Not even really UFO researchers knew about the case. It was completely dormant until the 80s, when a gentleman named Stanton Friedman, a UFO researcher, he was actually going on, I think it was a radio show, and the radio show was really late, so they delayed him, and they were real apologetic. And in order to kind of make it up to him, they said, you know what, you need to talk to this guy, Jesse Marcel, out here. And he has a sighting, or he has something to tell you that's really interesting. Well, Jesse Marcel was the first Air Force officer and he was an intelligence officer for the Roswell Army Air Base, and he was the first one to go out and look at this debris. He says, and he's the one in the pictures, he says that what he saw was not from a balloon, that it was very odd, it had strange characteristics to it. He says that on July 7th was when he went out there and was able to look at the material. He took the material then to the air base. He went home on his way and showed his son and his wife. And then he took it to the air base. They were really interested. Everybody knew that this was something strange. That's when the press guy at the base was told it was okay to tell the press that we finally got a flying saucer. And the interesting thing is by 1947 here, it was already a big deal. There were UFOs being seen all over the place. A lot of people think that, it was just during the same period of time, a gentleman named Kenneth Arnold had a sighting that was really popular, and a lot of people say his was the first. That's not the case. When you listen to the original recording of one of the original reports, are talking, what's with all of these flying saucers? Well, the Roswell Army Air Base says they finally got one. So there was a lot going on and a lot of sightings during this period of time. But Jesse Marcel says that he brought this to the base. They thought it was interesting. They said, you're going to fly it to Fort Worth, Texas. They flew it to Texas. When they got there, he was told, we're going to show you some balloon stuff. You're going to say, this is what you found, and that's it. Jesse Marcel, I became friends with his son, Jesse Marcel Sr., who actually just passed away a few months ago, unfortunately. He was a surgeon, a flight surgeon in Iraq. Up until just a few years ago, even though he was in his 70s, he did a tour in Iraq as a flight surgeon. So he is a very credible and respected person, but he says, yeah, my dad showed me this stuff. It was very strange. But he says his dad wasn't mad about this whole thing. His dad said, I was ordered to say, this is debris from a weather balloon, so I did. I did what I was told. I was a good soldier. It wasn't until the 80s where he decided people need to know that what I saw was really strange and extraterrestrial. He told Stanton Friedman about this. Stanton Friedman then did a bunch of research and brought in his friend William Moore, who is another UFO researcher. William Moore then wrote a book with a guy named Don Berlitz. And by the time they wrote the book, they had dozens and dozens of witnesses in the town and who were in the military at the time to say, yes, this was not, just a simple weather balloon. This was something much more mysterious than that. There were threats that the government made to tell us to shut up. There was a lot of commotion. People said they had seen flatbeds carrying strange things. So they had a lot of witnesses, and this whole story then broke when the book was written and it got out to the public, and that's when Roswell got huge. So it's really interesting that from 1947 until 1980, nobody knew about the case, and then it got really big. And since then, a lot of these researchers, and many of whom will be at Roswell, such as Don Schmidt, Tom Carey, Kevin Randall, they've done a lot of investigation, and they've talked to dozens of people who say, including people in the military, who say, yes, that was an extraterrestrial craft. Some of these guys have made deathbed confessions saying that they had seen extraterrestrial beings that were recovered at the craft. So it's really, really weird. To add to this weirdness, New Mexico Senator Schiff, and others had, made some inquiries to the government. Bill Clinton made some inquiries around Roswell. In the 90s, there were a couple reports that came out. One of them saying that what they had captured was the top secret project, but it was something called a mogul balloon, a balloon that was used to monitor nuclear blasts, and it could detect nuclear blasts from Russia, so they were monitoring their tests. But that didn't really fit timeline-wise, nor was it, at least according to Jesse Marcel Sr. and Jr., the material that they had seen and collected. Also, then another report came out to kind of wrap up the whole idea about the bodies that people had said they had seen. This said this was a crash test kind of dummy thing where they were dropping these dummies, but this wasn't until the 50s. This was later on. And not even during the period of time people had seen the sighting. They said people's memories must have got jumbled and they got their dates wrong, and what they had really seen were these dummies, which were certainly different than what these people attest to having seen. So we don't have any hard, fast evidence or proof, I should say, but you have a lot, an abundance of anecdotal information from witnesses who say this really happened, and then you have these government reports that don't really fit with the facts that we're hearing, or at least the information we're hearing from these military people who were there at the time. So that's what makes this a really interesting case. And a lot of people say, well, it's this festival, all of these authors are just continuing this mythology because there's so many people making so much money off of this. And that is certainly not the case. I mean, you can come out here and meet some of these researchers. They have other jobs. They have day jobs. They are not making a lot of money off of all of this stuff. So this isn't being perpetuated on shaky grounds by people who are just wanting to believe or wanting to make money off of it. There is a lot of witness testimony that is hard to account for when it comes to the Roswell case.
Well, there's a general who supposedly came out and he had a teletype message. That
was
General Ramey, or was it?
Oh, General. Well, okay, so yeah, General Ramey. That was a photo. So this is another interesting one.
And before you get, I want to bring up a point about it. Is they did a documentary about that incident, and just to tell you how the technology is, they were able to take his report, spin it around, and bring it into where they could actually almost read the whole document he had in his hand.
Yeah, so what happened is Jesse Marcel, like I told you, they told him when they got to Fort Worth, Texas, you're gonna show this balloon debris and say this is what you found. He said, yes, sir. He went into this room. There was debris. They had press there. Jesse Marcel is bending down, holding up the balloon, kind of like an "ah shucks, I got it wrong" picture. And in one of the pictures, Ramey, General Ramey, the guy who said, you're going to tell people it's this balloon, he's kneeling down and he has a memo in his hand. Well, years later, some people have zoomed in to that photograph and that memo and tried to determine what that memo says. It's really hard to, for certain, and a lot of people have different versions, say what some of this thing says, but it seems like when you look at it, there are phrases such as the body's recovered, The wrecked 2 sites. The wreckage was taken here to Fort Worth. I mean, you have some phrases that allude to something much more than just weather balloons there. So that's another interesting one. And then you had also referred to, and this is another interesting witness, is a gentleman called Colonel Corso. And he is a guy, Bill Burns wrote the book for him, kind of ghost wrote, well, although we know it's Bill Burns who you had on. Colonel Corso says that he was at the Pentagon working for the Foreign Technology Department, and he was brought by his boss, General Trudeau, a box of stuff and said, this is what the Army got at the Roswell thing. I want you to figure out what to do with it. He says there were things in there such as there was a material you could look through that would make the night day. There were wires and cables. There were computer chips. This was before computer chips. He says he took this material to various projects, that the top secret projects the Army was working on, such as night vision goggles, armor, things like this, and that these places that he took them to developed computer chips, they developed Kevlar, they developed just these various technologies from this material. And, he's a really credible guy. This is a guy who actually, when we went and liberated Rome during World War II, he was in charge of Rome. He was in charge of a missile battalion during World War II. A very credible and accomplished person. And people find it, hard to understand why someone like this would lie. A lot of people have addressed his claims and said that, these technology, especially these companies who had developed these technologies, and said, no, we can track the development of these technologies. This is not where it comes from. So he's another really enigmatic and high-level witness when it comes to Roswell.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of discrediting the witnesses. They don't want to sit there and the guy, it's got to be a lot for the guy to come forward, because I remember when they were talking about the documentary with the gentleman you're talking about, where he was drawing pictures of everything. They had little pictures of everything that he come across, the material, the wires, and the chips and stuff like that. And that's a lot to why are afraid to come forward, especially if they're in the government, because what are they going to do? They're ruin their career. They get that threat. But when we were talking about, just as in Roswell, where everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about how they feel the government trying to hide everything from them, and a lot of times they don't believe them. They believe that the government has always. They don't want you to know the truth. So that automatically turns everybody into a conspiracy. They're trying to hide it. Well,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to agree with you and say what's funny and what's changed in the last, I would say 10, more like the last 15 years. I think it's changed, in the 2000s. Really, is it used to be in the 90s and everything, people thought, yeah, you're a conspiracist, but things have changed to where now, we have these budgetary issues with the Defense Department. We have Iraq, and the weapons of mass destruction thing. We have so many things where the government and the military has been caught in these huge lies that I think that it used to be people believed what they said. I think now everybody's extremely skeptic and even cynical when it comes to it. So now people don't believe they're telling the truth. But so I think that's opened people to the idea that even on some of these topics that they're not telling the truth either.
Well, especially if it happened to be something that they're going to turn into, advanced technology for us. Right. I want it to get out so other people know about it.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, like the stealth bomber, that technology and the stealth fighter was so far advanced over most other countries. Especially, but you look back. There's a back in World War II. There's a story of, and I've seen documentaries about it, where Germany was doing testing on special craft technology back then that would be almost on the lines of the UFO technology now. And I don't know if it were ever able to. They weren't able to harness it, but they were trying to go to that level.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like now you see, and you probably see a lot of pictures of them on the news of giant crop circles, and to end up overnight and be so elaborate. I mean, it would be very hard, I think, for somebody to do it in the middle of the night and be so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any phenomenon about that, but I just think that would be tough to do.
Yeah, some of them are really large. They are very perfect. I think, unfortunately, lately, we've got a lot of examples where humans have created a lot of these things and they've come forward. You have a lot of crop circle makers and organizations that make crop circles. There's a really pretty elaborate one that was made recently. I think it was in France that hit the news like last week. But what's interesting is that, for instance, I wrote about last summer. It was one of the seasons where there was the least crop circles. And there was a story on this in England, and one of the main crop circle makers, the guy who belonged to one of the groups, he said the reason why was because in England they're getting busted too much, and he was the first one to go to jail for a period of time for making crop circles. So a lot of crop circle makers quit, and that's why there's less. However, he said, even though me and my friends make crop circles, we know that some of those are not made by humans, because almost every crop circle maker that he knows has seen balls of light out in the fields, mysterious balls of light out in the fields while they're out there. And some people report seeing these balls of light make crop circles. There's one famous video where a ball of light goes over a tractor. I think this video is from the 90s. Which is really mysterious. There is also another ball of light where it's spinning around in the field and it's making a crop circle, however, at least has been fairly, at least the major crop circle makers, and one in particular said he was able to debunk that one isn't real. But and so that's really interesting that you have even the crop circle makers saying, the human ones saying that, hey, we make some of them, but not all of them, and we're seeing really weird things out there when we're making them.
Yeah, that's they lose their credibility there. Nobody wants to believe them.
Yeah,
because if you get caught making crop circles, and it's amazing, I can understand why they're putting them in jail, because they're damaging this guy's crops. It's not necessarily you're in there for hoaxing. You're putting in jail for damaging whoever's field it is. Because that can be a lot of money, depending on how much damage they do.
Exactly.
But not just there, crop circles. You see also, and I don't want to get in because we're going to be taking a break here shortly because it's coming up, but I'm going to go ahead anyway. Sorry, Jimmy. But cattle mutilations. You hear a lot about that. Or, livestock are getting different organs removed, and it's almost like surgically removed.
Yeah, exactly. So, do we have to take a break?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
We got about 5 minutes at least before break.
Okay, crop circles. Yeah, that's what's really, cattle mutilations is another really interesting one. I mean, the heyday was in the 70s where we had a lot of them. They were mostly began in the southwestern United States. The first one that hit the media was in the 70s in Colorado in an area called the San Luis Valley, and it was actually a horse. And there, the veterinarian said it looked like, the skin was moved with a laser-like precision, and it looked like it was done by a laser. Since that's happened a lot, especially in the 70s, in that area in southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. So much so that a senator in New Mexico convened a conference in the late 70s of law enforcement to try to figure out what was going on. They even recruited the FBI to come in and take a look. According to a state police officer who's known as pretty much the best researcher in the area on this because he researched a lot of them, Gabe Valdez, the FBI guy came in, but when they were all pretty much over and didn't really do much investigation, just a few interviews, and then said it all was just predator kills. But a lot of the ranchers in the area and this police officer will tell you no, they weren't. This was something much more mysterious. Gabe Valdez, interestingly enough, believes it was a governmental organization, and I interviewed him just a couple weeks before he passed away. Unfortunately, he's an older gentleman, and he said he went to the grave saying he can't tell you who it was because it's a government secret, but that he's absolutely convinced that it was the government doing it. So that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. And I've been on some of these investigations, and you know the ranchers who see these animals die in various different ways are often, such as one of them I looked at in the Trinidad, Colorado area. They were all perplexed. They couldn't understand what had happened because this cattle in particular was at the bottom of a ravine that was next to a busy road, and there was no signs of any struggle, but it was dead, and it looked like its anal area had been cored out. Its udders looked as though they were surgically removed, along with the tongue, which is common in these phenomena. There wasn't blood, which is also common. So they had no idea how this thing could have died. It didn't fall down into this ravine. There were bushes there. You would have seen them crushed, but that wasn't the case. So, and this thing was huge. So I don't know how it could have been dropped into that area after it was killed somewhere else. So it was just left a mystery. And in fact, my friend Chuck Zukowski, he made friends with the local law enforcement because he was a reserve police officer in Colorado Springs. And the brand officer, I think is what he's called. Anyways, he's the guy in charge of the cattle. So if there's a death, he's in charge to make sure there's no foul play involved with it. And he called my friend on a couple other cases that made some news down there. In fact, the Humane Society put out a reward for anybody who knew how these cattle had died because it was a mystery and no one could figure out what had happened.
Yeah, that sounds a little crazy to think of the parts that are missing and stuff like that, and no blood. And you think that the animal would have put up a fight, that there would be blood everywhere.
Yeah. We have a guy, Chris O'Brien, who writes about the Mysterious Valley and the San Luis Valley. He's done a lot of research. I had him on my podcast recently, but he's also going to be speaking at the next International UFO Congress. He just wrote, I think, one of maybe the seminal pieces, one of the best books when it comes to this. Chris O'Brien is his name, so you can look him up. But he wrote a really interesting book on these cattle mutilations, and he's baffled. He says that there is no one answer that really fits the whole phenomena, and he documents all of these really strange things. It's such an enigmatic phenomena.
Well, I just got another poke from my producer, and he says it's time for commercial. We're gonna take a quick break here. Once again, this is your host, Matt Hasley. We're on Straight Talk, and my guest, Alejandro Rojas from Open Minds, and we'll be back here shortly.
Hi, now I know you hear Joe Rocks and the Dog on their weekly restaurant reviews on Night Talk, 10 p.m. Eastern. And boy, these two like to eat. Right, boys? Well, here's something to review right from your house. Eat24. That's right, Eat24.com. With over 25,000 restaurants for you to choose from when you're hungry, many in your area. So review that, boys. Eat24.com. Click, order, and eat. Eat24.com.
Ready to boost your professional image and show your dedication to your career? iCarryalls.com is your source for customized business cases for iPad, iPad mini, MacBook, and Galaxy tablets. We stock a huge number of genuine leather pad folios, pouch cases, business tote bags, and more. If you don't see a style you like, no problem. The iCarryalls design team can help you design the perfect case for your needs. Express international shipping is available. Get organized today with a leather case that works as hard as you do. Visit iCarryalls.com. That's iCarryalls.com.
Say goodbye to payroll hassles with professional services from K&L Payroll Services. Now you can trust your payroll is in good hands. There's nothing better than personal attention from a trusted advisor who knows your business. Get more for your money with K&L Payroll Services. Call today at 888-979-6660 for honest savings on payroll services. That's K&L Payroll Services.
Route 106 Motors is the home of fine pre-owned vehicles. Experience a no-pressure sale with a family-friendly atmosphere. Route 106 Motors has been practicing the same simple philosophy of low prices for over a decade, and it has brought us great success. Recently, while other dealers are closing their doors, Route 106 Motors is expanding. We are a wholesale dealer, and we own the property and pay cash for all the vehicles. This allows us to sell to the consumer for a lot less than the average dealership. We are a high-volume, small-profit dealer, and we pass the savings on to you. New changes have been made at Route 106 Motors. Stop by and check out our brand-new building. Route 106 Motors, located at 569 West Street. Check our website at route106motors.com and be sure to like us on Facebook to find out about all the latest deals and savings opportunities. route106motors.com.
Spring is in the air, and you deserve to have a spring in your step. And where better to find that little bit of heaven for your well-deserving tootsies than Savvy Souls, where chic meets comfort at the intersection of satisfaction, swank, and trendy. With 50 to 70% off, it's as heaven sent for your wallet as it is for your feet. So check them out today at www.forsavvysouls.com or find them on Facebook at For Savvy Souls today.
Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle that's on the verge of coming out in the book The Hypocrite by Mara K. Eaton, available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook today.
Hi, I want to tell you about the new Zunity Eclipse. iStream is a smart media aggregator that stores your media tastes to better focus your searches. Add to favorites or subscribe to your show of choice and never miss an episode again. Create your own little digital online library without downloading a thing. It supplies content by scanning and collating your channels directly from the World Wide Web. Supporting many formats and exceptionally versatile, whether playing the latest Android games and emulators, streaming 1080p HD movies, or video playback from your own media collection, the Eclipse is a powerful, stylish addition to any household. Miracast and AirPlay, which enable you to share media content, such as music, videos, photos between your smartphone, tablet, or laptop, and your TV, will also run on this little Zunit. Zunity, TV made simple. Play games, share photos, chat with friends, use our social media, stream, enjoy live television from around the globe. To order, contact us at Zunity.tv or call 718-414-3128 and check us out on Facebook. Zunity Talk for more information. TV made simple. Listen Thursdays, 10 p.m. Eastern to Night Talk with Joe Rocks, co-hosted by Jackie and the Dog on Live 365 Armed Radio Global. You'll never know what will happen or who will drop in, only on Armed Radio Global.
The heat is on. The heat is on. The heat is on. Oh, it's on the street. The heat is
And once again, we're back. This is your host, Matt Hasley. We're back on Straight Talk with Alejandro Rojas from Open Minds. And we're just about ready to go into one of my favorite subjects because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But Men in Black, and they made multiple movies about it. Some funny, some a lot of documentaries about them serious. But what's your take on the Men in Black?
Men in Black is another hard one. Like these last few topics, well, really all of these topics are so enigmatic. I mean, it's so hard to pin your finger on things. And a lot of the big-time researchers talk about how, the extraterrestrial answer or whatever there's much more possibilities and things are so much stranger that who knows what's going on with them. And Men in Black is another really weird one. One of my favorite, or I think one of the most interesting Men in Black stories, it was from Dan Aykroyd. He had one. He says he was doing a TV show for a while, and I think it was called Sighting, something like that, and it was about UFOs and stuff, which he has a big passion for. I've got to interview him, and he's like, he would be like talking, you could have had him and he would have told you all this stuff. He's so well versed in everything. It's amazing. But he said he was shooting this episode and he was interviewing Stephen Greer. He's the medical physician who I told you about at the beginning that inspired me to get into all of this. And he walked outside because he got a call from Britney Spears and they were going to work on a project together. He walks outside and he looks across the street and he says he sees this old black car and these two men in black suits standing next to it. He said he glanced over there and thought it was weird. He kept talking to Britney Spears, glances away. He looks back and they're gone. The car and these guys are gone. He thinks that's really weird. He goes back inside the building, and they say, guess what, Dan? Our show's been canceled. We're not even going to finish shooting this episode. The show's done. And he's not sure if the experience is related. Those guys he saw is related to his show canceling. He's not sure what the heck. But he thinks this is a really interesting story, and it is, his Men in Black story. Another one I heard of recently is in North Carolina. There's the guy who runs MUFON down there did a really great conference with some scientists and stuff he brought in from all over the place. And at this conference, he told me a weird story. This is a straightforward guy. He's a contractor, I think, and he says, he's not intimidated by anybody. That people come in all the time, and sometimes the IRS or whoever comes in to talk to him about his business dealings, and he's not intimidated by anyone. He tells him to talk to his lawyer. He's got his ducks in a row. He's not worried about it. Well, he had these guys come in who were, he saw from the side of his eyes that they were wearing these black outfits. They come in, and he says, get the hell out of here, talk to my lawyer. I don't want to talk about this. And they said, no, you're going to talk to us. He looks up at him. He said one of them was really tall and skinny, and one was like short and fat. And he said that he got this instant fear. They told him that essentially to stop looking into a UFO sighting he was looking into. He said, screw you. And they said, no, you're going to stop looking into it. And, he had to muster the courage to even tell them that, and they left, and that was it. But he said it was one of the strangest experiences in his life, and he thought that these things did not look human. And this is just kind of similar to stories you hear over the years. There have been UFO researchers such as MUFON, when they go to a case and they say, well, you were already here, a couple guys wearing black suits were here, and they said they were you, and they took my photos already, and it wasn't them. So you hear these stories, and, at first I was skeptical of these stories, but you hear them so often, it's another one that's really hard to understand, especially when these people report that they were so strange looking that they seem to be extraterrestrial. It's another really hard to pinpoint or to kind of put your finger on what the heck is going on with this weird Men in Black stuff.
Yeah, they did a I can't think of it was a sighting. Oh, Lord, it took it off of the page. Here it is. It's from UFOgrid.com, and they show this. It was an old photo, and they went back and they checked the dating of the photo to make sure everything looked correct in it. But they had this guy standing in a doorway, and they were talking about him being a Men in Black sighting. Well, they said he was not common in the area. Everybody knew everybody. So people stand out, especially when they're wearing all black like that. Especially nowadays you just don't see that. Guys walking around in all black. But especially in Arizona, you wouldn't, where you're at, it'd be too hot.
Right.
Yep. So a lot of the cases that I hear of, that the reports, that the guys show up out of nowhere. They show up unannounced, dressed like if they're all there was one report of this guy was out on a dirt road, dusty road. The guy shows up out of nowhere. He is spotless. His car is spotless. He's spotless. His shoes are shiny. Everything, and it's and they know who he is, what he's doing there, and they tell him to back off. And a lot of people, as you said, automatically have that fear when they deal with them because I don't know how they intimidate the people, but people have been just scared to death when they run into these people.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is anecdotal. You don't know these people. You don't know how credible they are. But like these two stories I told you, the Dan Aykroyd, I think he's a credible guy. I think it's an interesting story. And the other gentleman from North Carolina, I mean, he's a real stand-up guy to me. I trust what he says. And how weird, just how weird these. And his experience is, like you said, similar to what other people report.
Yeah, it always seems like they show up in the wildest scenarios, and a lot of people, with Will Smith coming out and making a movie about it and made fun of it. So a lot of people have they've humorized this topic. So if you talk about Men in Black, they automatically think of Will Smith,
right?
Where a lot of other people that are more serious into this see it a whole different way. And another topic that I was going to talk about is you hear on some shows, but alien abductions, and people don't actually remember them until they're brought in, like either hypnotized or something like that.
Yeah, but there are many of them where people do consciously remember them because you never know completely when it comes to hypnosis, but there's a lot of people, they've gone to someone for this issue because they have memories in the first place. So a lot of people have memories without hypnosis, such as the first case, which is really interesting, or at least the first one that made the media, which was Betty and Barney Hill. They remember seeing this UFO and then seeing the UFO on the road in front of them, and the next thing they know, they're driving. Then under hypnosis, they have the memories. Both were hypnotized separately, not together, but they had similar stories of there actually being these beings in the craft. They came out and took them into the craft. They examined them, put them back in their car, and sent them on their way. And this is the theme of the story that you hear, until this day. So, I mean, it's really interesting. Kathleen Marden is the niece of Betty and Barney Hill, and she's continued to do UFO or an alien abduction research. She's going to be in Roswell. She's real good friends with Stanton Friedman, and they've written some books together. Yvonne Smith is another researcher who's been doing this for decades, who will be in Roswell. And they've got just dozens and dozens and dozens of cases of similar reports. And what I think is sad is these people are experiencing something. Hundreds, if not thousands of people are having these similar recollections. Even if they are imagined, it's something that mainstream therapists, I think mental health experts should take serious, because there's a theme here, and I think at the very least it should be examined. Why are all of these people having these similar experiences? There was a lady in Harvard who did a study, and she says it was all sleep paralysis. But the majority, like these people will tell you, most of these stories, the majority are not happening while people are in bed when they're asleep. So I think that there's something more to this that needs to be examined.
One case I had heard about, and they talked about where I know there was a logging crew where they were they're working up in the tree, taking down trees all day long. They come down the hill and they noticed what they saw was a UFO, and
yeah, that's a great case. And I just saw Travis Walton. That's who you're referring to. He's going to be in Roswell. I just saw him this weekend, and I know him really well. In fact, when the Kardashians contacted me, that they're producers, and said, we want you to take the Kardashians to Area 51, they're really into UFOs and aliens. And they were super cool people, and they were really into this topic. And he said, could you bring someone who's really credible, who could tell them a really interesting account? I immediately thought of Travis Walton, and he came with and told them the story and blew them away. But yeah, this is in 1979 or 1975, and they are logging. They're leaving at night in their truck, him and like 6 other guys. They see a UFO. They drive up to the UFO, and it's your typical saucer that's hovering in this field. Travis Walton gets out and runs towards it to look at it. He's a young guy. The guys are yelling and cussing at him. What the hell are you doing? Get back in the truck. They're scared out of their minds. Well, all of a sudden, there's this boom, this explosion, they say, happens, and a beam hits Travis, and he flies back. It was so violent, they thought he was dead. They took off, the guys in the truck. Assuming Travis was dead, they got a distance before the leader of the group said, hey, guys, we've got to go back and we've got to go get him. He's our friend. We've got to at least pick up his body, for the family. And everybody was scared, but they go back and Travis is gone. So they're freaked out. They immediately go back into town and tell the police, hey, we just saw this UFO. I know this is extraordinary. You're not going to believe us. The police don't believe them and think that they killed Travis. Then they go looking for him. There's men on horseback. It's a big manhunt looking for Travis Walton and where he is. They don't find his body. 5 days later, his brother gets a phone call and from a guy claiming to be Travis Walton. And he says, yeah, right, buddy. And he's like, no, this is Travis. So he goes and picks him up. What Travis remembers is hit by this beam. And the next thing he knows, he's kind of waking up. He said he's in lots of pain. He says he kind of, woke up a couple times, could see some activity. He thought he was in a hospital. Finally, he opens his eyes, and he sees these weird, short creatures in these orangish, brownish jumpsuits. And, they're like the typical aliens with the big eyes and the big heads. And he flips out. He jumps off of this platform that he's laying on. He picks up this bar that was over his chest and starts swinging it at him. And he's screaming. He's just terrified beyond belief at these weird creatures. They looked scared themselves, and they couldn't, they seemed to not be able to control him, so they left. They ran out of the room. He goes and he pokes his head out of the room. He walks down a hallway. He sees a larger room where there's like this starscape. And there's this chair in the middle of the room. He goes and he touches the chair, and this starscape that is on the wall in the room just moves. So he figures, I better not touch that. At that point, he sees a human at the doorway that has like this glass over his head, this helmet. Clear helmet over his head. He thinks, oh my gosh, it's somebody here to save me. He runs over to the guy. The guy takes him by the arm and walks him out of this craft into like this giant strange hangar, which also has kind of this half dome kind of shape to it. There are these crafts sitting there. You can see it was a silver saucer he was in. The guy takes him to another room where there's this woman who's also in a blue jumpsuit. This guy's wearing a blue jumpsuit. And all of a sudden he starts thinking, hey, these guys aren't talking. Who the heck are you people? He's trying to talk to them. They're not answering him. The woman brings this mask to put over his face. He starts to struggle, and he falls asleep. The next thing he remembers, he's on the floor. He's on the ground in Heber, which is the closest town to where he was taken. He's on the ground. He looks up, and he sees the craft shoot straight up into the air at its super quick speed, making no sound. He gets up. He's relieved to finally be back somewhere where he recognizes. He knows where Heber is, and he starts walking to town. He said he actually knocked on somebody's door because he was delirious. Let me in, let me in. Nobody let him in, so he kept walking. He gets to the payphone. He calls his family, and then he passed out in the payphone booth. So all of these loggers have undergone multiple polygraph tests. Travis underwent polygraph tests. The first one was, they were not able to determine whether he was telling the truth or not, but everybody else passed. Travis says because the questions were weird, such as, were you taken by extraterrestrials? He said he didn't know. You have to answer yes or no, but he didn't know what the heck happened. To this day, he doesn't know for sure if these were ETs or not. He just knows this weird experience happened to him. He doesn't know what the hell it was all about. But he has since passed like 6 of these tests. The odds of all of these guys passing all of these tests is just really high or low that they would be lying and being able to pass these tests. So, yeah, another great case. They made a movie, Fire in the Sky, about it, which most of the story is really accurate, except for what happened on the craft. They totally changed that and made it like monster, more scary and ridiculous, and it's unfortunate because what really happened is really cool. He says there's an episode of Paranormal Witness that he said that is the most accurate portrayal of what really happened to him.
See, I think that's actually where I saw it from, was Paranormal Witness. And
yeah, great. So you saw the best portrayal of it.
It was... it just kind of blows your mind to think that something could happen like that. Everybody goes, they want to think, but probably the most famous hoax, ET hoax was Orson Welles when he did War of the Worlds. And so a lot of people are, they want to do is turn it into sell movie tickets. They want to evolve it into something that's going to be, spooky and scary. And Tom Cruise come out and redid War of the Worlds, and who knows? I mean, if they had that much technology, they could have taken us out a long time ago.
Right. And what's great about Travis Walton is he's so down to earth. I've seen him. I've either facilitated him doing lectures or seen him doing lectures. I just saw him the other day. I've seen him do this, talk about this dozens and dozens of times in front of the Kardashians. It's always the same. He's emotional about it. To me, it's incredible. To think that just to see him do it, he's got a high level of credibility.
You have empathy where you would like to be, being a UFO researcher as yourself, where you'd like to have been there and seen it. But another one, the fear of you is glad that you weren't. Because everybody would like to, wants to see the UFO. It's like I've never, I live in the Midwest, which is the, Tornado Alley, pretty much. We're a little on the edge of it, but I'm going to be 50 this year, and I have not seen a tornado on the ground, and I would love to see it.
Interesting,
but it's like I want to see, you want to see that UFO. Or it's like the guy that searches for the ghost hunting. They want to see that actual footage. They want to experience it themselves, and as a researcher, I'm sure that you have taken. Trips out to, like you said, you went to, Area 51, and you want to see experience the phenomenon yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're running close to time here. We got a lot more stuff. I want to cover one more subject.
Okay.
And just because I've seen it on a lot of the documentaries about it, about foreign matter that has been found on people that ends up being metal and different stuff not from this from this planet, like metal implants and stuff like that, and they don't know where they came from.
Now, right. So there are people who believe they've had implants from their alien abduction experiences. These implants are small pieces of metal. There's a gentleman who unfortunately recently passed away, a podiatrist, foot surgeon, who actually was asked to remove one of these things for a television show. He was very skeptical, thought it was silly. He would take it out and show it's a rock or something. But he took it out and he didn't know what the heck it was. And that kind of he got really wrapped up in all of this. So he started removing them and doing some analysis. They were able to. I've taken some of the analysis because we've gotten it, and I've shown it to some other experts, and there aren't. It really needs to be scrutinized by people with a higher level of expertise, which it hasn't been done yet. I am not convinced myself that it's necessarily extraterrestrial in that it's manufactured by extraterrestrials. However, there's a geologist who did look at it, and another researcher who did determine that, at least one of these implants appeared to be meteoric, that it was the same substance that you find in meteors. So the question is, how did this meteor get in this person's body? So that is really mysterious, but a lot more work has to be done on these. But a lot of question is, how do these get there? And some people question, how do these things not then get rejected by the body? Some surgeons will tell you that foreign debris can stay in the body for a long period of time, but it is eventually pushed out. It's really strange, and it's another area that really needs to be researched and studied more rigorously. The hard part is that there are individual scientists who are interested in this field, but not scientific organizations. Most people do this on a volunteer basis, and they don't have money, resources. They don't have the money to have a lab do the research that needs to be done. And then you have to find someone with the expertise who's willing to look at it and say, put their name on the line.
Yeah, put their name up there. Yeah.
Exactly, and say, I'm an expert, and this was pulled out of a person, and it doesn't believe, it's not earthly material, and that's hard to come by.
Where do you see your research or your coverage evolving to, or where do you see it going in the next?
Well, in Roswell, one of the talks I'm doing is UFOs or ETs and religion. And one of the aspects of this whole field is the sociological aspect, which I think is interesting. We do see the media covering it more. We are seeing polls where people are more open to it. And we're seeing a lot of religions, nouveau religions, that are basing themselves around UFOs. I don't like to use the word cult because that usually it's kind of a term that is not well defined and typically means some kind of malicious organization. And a lot of these UFO religions are not malicious. They genuinely believe that, they're getting information from extraterrestrials. So it's kind of like the new angels and gods or extraterrestrials. And I think that, this whole idea of extraterrestrials is having a real big effect on society. And maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. I really believe this is an events-driven kind of thing where if there are extraterrestrials visiting us, then they're the ones in charge. They're the ones who are setting the timetable. They're the ones, I believe, like that astrophysicist had said, if they don't want to be seen, they won't be. And when they do want to be seen, they're going to be seen in the way that they want. So hopefully that means that, we're going to become mature enough, or it's going to be time for us to join our galactic neighborhood sometime soon. And so that's why I like keeping tabs on this, because we're keeping tabs on the evolution. We're able to then find these weird stuff, like this weird video that we posted this week. Keep an eye on that sort of thing. And then hopefully we'll be there to cover, any other big events that happen in this field.
We're kind of like the undereducated kids still in school.
Exactly.
They you're not smart enough. You keep staying in school. We'll get you there.
Yeah, exactly.
As you're down the road, maybe
Smarten
eventually.
up a little bit.
Yep. And you another movie that kind of made exactly the phenomenon was Phenomenon.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, with oh God, I'm trying to think. Oh God, I can't even right now. But everybody thought he saw a UFO, and then
John Travolta.
Yes, and then it turned it into being a type of a tumor in his brain that opened everything up,
right?
And to be able to do more things, because we've used very limited amount of our brain, and some of I've seen guys every day that you use even less than that,
right?
And some people that are just talk to me, and you're like, wow,
yeah,
what, how smart and how advanced they are, and just real articulate, and I'm hoping that down the road because we've had presidents that have admitted seeing UFOs. Jimmy Carter was one of them.
Carter and Reagan, both admitted to seeing UFOs.
But I think there was also a bigger one quite a while back. I don't know if it was Roosevelt, maybe, or one of them back in that era did. But Carter was real, outwardly spoken about it.
Yeah,
and that's surprising for being a president.
Yeah, and Clinton was into UFOs, and he still is. He's very interested in the phenomena. One of Obama's advisors worked for Clinton, John Podesta. He's really into UFOs.
Yeah, I would love to do is, just get in a room, be a fly on the wall for some of those, discussions that they have. Because, with all the technology that they have to watch our world, as we call it, to be able, and I'm sure there's some stuff that they spot every day, and it kind of makes me think of the movie with was it Jodie Foster?
Contact.
Yeah, and you wonder when it's actually gonna break, because
exactly, and how?
When we're ready, I think.
Yeah, and what's great with the Jodie Foster movie is it demonstrates, or at least it shows an example of that contact happening in a way we never would have imagined. And most likely the contact will happen in ways that we can't even imagine. We were joking about Travis Walton, because one thing with him is he's 65, he looks like he's 40. He's absolutely in an incredible shape. He said he hasn't been sick for like 35 years, hasn't missed a day of work. He just retired. Wouldn't that be a subtle but very poignant clue if he lives to be 150 or 200 years old after having this experience?
Yeah, that's right. He had some tests done or whatever. You never know. They talk about guys who go up into space and they're taller when they come back. Yeah. Because the compression on your spine from our gravity. So you never know. That would be a interesting telltale sign, but a lot of the people that know him now he's going to outlive them then.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be the sad part. That
they won't.
We'll be gone.
That's right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a very interesting 2 hours, and hopefully we can do is stay in contact. I'd like to do is maybe come see you in October.
That would be awesome. Yeah, you've got to get out there because you're in the area. I think you'll love it if you're into this topic.
Oh, yes.
Some really good stuff. At openminds.tv, we have an events page where you can see more information about where I or my colleagues will be speaking. You can see more about our conference, which is a really good deal when it comes to these conferences, and it's a lot of fun. It's the biggest ever, so if you are just getting into this and you want to go to an event, the UFO Congress is the one, and you can find all this at openminds.tv.
That'd be great. So make sure you do is log on to there. And right now they're doing early registration for the 2015 International UFO Congress. So
in February. So if you live in a cold part of the country, you definitely want to come to Phoenix in February.
There you go. Warm it up. Yep. And they said that this is a 5-day event, and they have over 20 speakers. So that should be pretty intense.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. And once again, this is Matt Hasley, your host of Straight Talk. And you're listening to ARM Radio Global. And everybody have a good night.
I could not foresee this thing happening to you.